Hey guys, so let's get started with 3.2. We are adding, subtracting, and multiplying polynomials. So as far as the addition and subtraction goes, it says to add or subtract polynomials, we add or subtract the coefficients of like terms. So coefficients are multiplied by the variable. I'll write that down here. Multiplied by the variable, and like terms have the same variable to the same exponent. So my problem number one here, x to the third, a variable of x to an exponent of 3 matches or is a like term with the other x to the third. So I am going to add them up by adding their coefficients. So these coefficients are the number multiplied, so like a 3. And this one has like a 1 times x to the third, even though they didn't write it. So I'm going to add those coefficients. The 1 plus 3 gives me a 4. I've got 4x to the third. All right, and then as far as my next one down, x squared matches with the other x squared, so same variable to same exponent. I am going to add their coefficients. So keep in mind you have to use a positive 2 and a negative 10, like include the sign with it. So a 2 and a negative 10, those add up to negative 8. Okay, so that'll be the coefficient on my x squared. My plain x, this guy I think is the only x in my first polynomial. The other one doesn't have a plain x, so I will leave that as it was, just a negative x. Nothing to combine it with. Constants. Constants are the ones without x's, and these guys, I got a negative 7 and a positive 8. Again, include the sign and the number. So negative 7 plus 8 is a positive 1. So here is all simplified. I have added my added my polynomials. Now subtraction, for subtraction, order matters. When they say subtract this polynomial from another one, like if I said subtract 3 from 4, you would do 4 minus 3. So subtract this first polynomial from the second means that second polynomial minus the first polynomial. Now I'm putting it in parentheses for a reason. I have to subtract the whole polynomial. My parentheses are kind of my package deal, grouping them all together. Okay, so because I'm subtracting, like, again, if I was subtracting 2, I could say that's like adding a negative 2. I'm going to turn this into adding the opposite sign of each of these guys. So I would say like it's a negative 2x cubed, it's a negative 6x, a positive x, and a negative 1. I changed the sign on each. This first polynomial did not have a negative in front of it, so there's nothing to distribute. That one will stay the same. Okay, so at this point, I am combining like terms. So I will look at the same variable to the same exponent. So again, I've got like my x cubed and another x cubed. I will combine those by their coefficients. 8, positive 8, and negative 2. So 8 minus 2 is 6. I've got a 6x cubed here. And then on my way down to an x squared, it looks like I've got only one of those x squared. So that guy is actually going to stay the same. This will still be a, keep in mind the sign here, a negative 3x squared. And then on my way down, the next one has a plain x. Oh, actually, let's see here. I think I wrote this without the 2. So let's see, I'm supposed to have a 6x squared. I apologize here. 6x squared. 6x squared. There we go. That's looking better. So I really did have like terms on my x squared, so I apologize. I had a negative 3x squared and a negative 6x squared. I had 2 different x squareds. So I will combine their coefficients, which are a negative 3 and a negative 6. So negative 3 minus 6 is a negative 9. So here's my negative 9 on the x squared. So I apologize for that. My plain x's, let's see. Here we go. I've got a negative 2x, and this is like a 1x. if they didn't write the coefficient, you can write it yourself. This is like a 1x. So if I combine these, -2 and +1, so -2 + 1 is -1. Do I really need to write -1x though? I might as well just call it -x. Same thing as -1x. All right, and then my last number here was a +9 and a -1. And 9 minus 1 is 8, so I got my +8. All right, so there is my final answer for the subtraction. They could ask you that question verbally like that, or like a written way like that, or they could do it more symbolically. They just wrote what plus what minus what. They've just written it the same thing in a different way. With the addition, I really have nothing to distribute. I can just combine my like terms. So for all of my x squares, looks like I've got 2 of those x squareds. So I will add their coefficients. It's a 2 and a 7. Adds up to a 9. So I've got a 9x squared. My plain x, I got a -6x. And this is like a -1x. So -6 minus 1 is a -7. In front of my, these are both plain x's, and then my constants. So I've got a +5 minus 9, so a -4. And that's as good as it's going to get right there. All right, now the subtraction, same as I did before, I have to distribute that negative across the board of my second polynomial. So -5t cubed, I got a +t squared and a -17. So I pretty much changed the sign on all these. The first polynomial doesn't have a negative in front of it, so that will stay exactly the same. 3t cubed plus 8t squared minus t minus 4. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and combine my like terms again. It looks like I've got t cubed and another t cubed. So let's add their coefficients. A 3 and -5 is a -2. So I've got a -2. We got a t cubed instead of an x cubed, but that's fine. Different letter. All right, and on my way down, I'm gonna look at t squared. So let's see, I've got 1, 2 of those t squareds. Their coefficients are a +8, again, including the sign, and a +1. So +8 plus 1 is a +9, so +9t squared. All right, next up are the plain t's. It looks like I only have one of those. This other polynomial doesn't have a plain t. So that -t, that just kind of comes along for the ride here, nothing to combine it with. The constants though, -4, -17, those are constants without any variables. And I do have one of each of those, -4 and -17. So it gets to a -21. And there we go, that's as combined as I can possibly do. All right, so that was either adding or subtracting your polynomials. For multiplication, it says first distribute each term of the first polynomial to each term of the second polynomial, and then you combine like terms. So let's start, first things first. I think we're used to seeing it in parentheses. So multiply your -x squared plus 2x plus 4, we're doing that guy, times your x minus 3. All right, and then according to this, I distribute one at a time. So I'll probably distribute my -x squared to everything in the other parentheses. Notice I did not multiply anything in the same parentheses. I multiplied it to the other parentheses. So I get a -x squared times a +x is a -x cubed. And my -x squared times the -3 is a +3x squared. All right, next up, let's distribute the 2x. So when I distribute that to, again, everything in the other set of parentheses. So the 2x times x is a 2x squared, and 2x times -3 is a -6x. And last one here, I need to distribute my 4 to everything, again, in the other set of parentheses. So I get the 4 times x, and the 4 times -3 is a -12. All right. So I have multiplied. I still need to combine like terms to simplify it all the way down. So this is actually what we've been doing. My x cubed, I only see one of those x cubes, so I'll bring that along. The x squareds, I got a couple of those guys. So a 3x squared and a 2x squared. 3 plus 2 is 5, so I got a 5x squared. My plane x's, again, -6 plus 4 is -2. So I have a -2x. And the constant, that's the only constant that I have. So -12 is just going to come along for the ride there. All right, so we have multiplied the polynomial. And we got one more here. Let's multiply this last one as well. We're going to distribute. And again, I multiply to everything in the other set of parentheses. So this x gets multiplied x times x and x times -5. So x times x is x squared. Here's my x times -5. All right. And I'll distribute the 5 now to everything in the other set of parentheses. So I got a 5x, and 5 times -5 is a -25. So when I combine like terms now, my x squared, that's the only x squared that I have. These are my plane x's, those are like terms. I can combine those, which when I do -5 plus 5 is 0. Do I really need to put I've got 0 of the x's? Now if I have 0 of them, I don't need to write it. And I just have the -25 left, so this actually ends up x squared minus 25. All right, so there is my final answer. All right, there we go, you guys.